This is The Process Shot. I'm Michael. I was on a roll with good movies this week, but then I saw Uncharted, a newish adventure comedy feature from director Ruben Fleischer. Based on the video game series that I've never played, the movie is essentially an origin story detailing the rise of treasure hunter Nathan Drake. As an orphan, his brother Sam left to go explore the world on his own, and years later his postcards have stopped coming in. Eventually, Nathan is recruited by Sully, a more experienced hunter, to help find a stash of gold hidden away by the crew of the old Magellan expedition, explaining that doing so may lead to Sam's whereabouts as well. It's a quest that takes them across the world and pits them against rival hunters, their ruthless bands of mercenaries, questionable loyalties and moral alignments, and a serious amount of trust issues among everybody. Honestly, I can't even say that if you're just here for the adventure story that you'll get everything you'll really want from the experience, mostly because there's so much other stuff that bogs it all down that it ends up being less fun than it ought to be. It doesn't help either that at the core of it all, the story is pretty basic and barely escapes any genre conventions. Sure, every step of the adventure leads into the next landmark, as any good plot ought to do, but in this movie it feels more contrived, and the characters aren't even challenged or have to take any detours or shortcuts to get to the next piece of the puzzle. It's pretty much a pattern of entering a location, following a clue, getting into a fight or some other trouble, following the clue again, then moving on to the next place. There are a few breaks here and there to try and build character, but it's still for naught because the characters themselves are far from appealing. The chemistry between lead actors Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, who portray Nathan and Sully respectively, is pretty much non-existent, and their individual performances are also very lazy. They just kind of go through the motions with low charisma and low effort, more as if they are just being themselves rather than actually acting. The only mercy I'll give them in that regard is that the production really emphasizes special effects and digital backdrops, which would explain why it feels like they're acting against nothing. The special effects across the film are indeed impressive, but they're still pretty clearly fake and come to remove any greater sense of tension or danger for characters, no matter how crazy or unrealistic the digital stunt work may be. Cinematography choices in these scenes make it all look rather pretty, but there's still the matter that what you're seeing is effectively computer generated and almost entirely unreal. I will say there are a handful of real scenes and stunts going on, and in those scenes there is an actual sense of suspense happening, but it still doesn't feel very exciting in the long run, no matter how much they try to overload your visual senses. Overall, I think that may be one of the film's more existential flaws. For the scale and scope of the adventure that it's trying to sell to the audience, it only wants to do that through visual effects instead of creating a more real thrill by being real. Coupled with the story itself being bland and the cast seemingly wanting nothing to do with being in the movie, it really doesn't offer much reason for its own existence. It has an idea of what it wants to be, but in execution it lowballs itself in favor of something more palatable to mainstream audience expectations. Uncharted, Ruben Fleischer, 2022. 1 star. I don't recommend watching this movie at all. That's it for this review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. I think one of the worst things about the cast's lack of effort is that it's clearly visible in a post-credits scene how much better they could have been if they had actually been trying to be charismatic throughout the whole film. Like, the difference is completely night and day.